I'm going to tell you an amazing story about mammoths that was discovered in Poland. So basically, Krakow, Poland is a hot spot for mammoth remains. There's this one area of Krakow where researchers have found more than 100 mammoth remains. Like, that means 100 mammoths lived there at one time and their bones are still there and being discovered. This particular bone I'm talking about was actually discovered in 2002, but just recently researchers were like, let's go back, let's take another look, let's use our microscopes. And they found a piece of javelin embedded in the rib cage of a mammoth. And this is amazing because this is the first evidence in Europe from the Ice Age that people actually hunted mammoths with weapons. Until now, it was thought humans ran them off of cliffs or into pits so that the mammoth was still hunted, but not with weapons. And there actually are 2 instances in Siberia that mammoths were hunted with weapons, but Europe's a whole nother ballgame. This is the first evidence from Europe. I decided to call up one of my go-to mammoth sources, Adrian Lister. He's a scientist at the Natural History Museum in London. He said, it is important because it proves beyond reasonable doubt that mammoths were hunted. Before we had circumstantial evidence that maybe mammoths were hunted, maybe with weapons. Like we found butchered mammoth bones and we found burnt mammoth bones, so humans were definitely eating them, but we didn't know if they were scavengers. This really proves that it was a weapon that did in this mammoth. There's evidence of ancient bears being hunted in Germany, but again, this is the first evidence for a mammoth being hunted in Europe. Which brings us to the question of extinction. Why did mammoths go extinct? They lived all throughout the Ice Age, and in Europe, they started disappearing around 15,000 years ago. They lived for longer on Wrangels Island, which is this island off the coast of Russia, until about 4,000 years ago. But there's been a lot of debate in the last decade about, was it climate change because the Ice Age was ending and the world was becoming much warmer, or was it human hunters that actually dealt in the final blow to the mammoths that led to their extinction? Some people say climate change played a bigger role, other people say humans definitely played a bigger role. It was definitely a mix of the two. But Adrian Lister told me, you can't take this one instance of the spear point in this mammoth rib to say that humans were heavily involved in the mammoth's extinction. And that's because he said this is just one instance. So at that point, it was probably sustainable hunting where they weren't killing that many mammoths. And also this is 25,000 years ago, a good 10,000 years before mammoths went extinct. So you can think about this. I'm sure there'll be more papers coming out saying one way or the other why mammoths went extinct. But thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.